Well, hello and welcome to this week's Photography Pubcast. Hope you guys are well. This is Season 2, Episode 3. Currently charting, are you ready for this? At 182 in the UK podcast charts. So in visual arts, so we're doing great, yeah.
Weren't we 20 last week? What were we last week?
24, but we've
so
just...
why we dropped so much?
I have no idea.
That's because I weren't here last week.
Is that what it is?
That's it,
Must
yeah.
be.
Everybody
so-
switched off.
Yeah, so, not so good. But anyway, how is everyone, all right?
Good.
Yeah, very
Are
good.
you all right, Gary? Yeah.
Me? Yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine.
We always ask us, but we should never ask about you.
Yeah, no, I'm perfectly fine. Yeah,
Good.
I have to say, last week's Q&A went really well. I thought
That's brilliant.
loads of positive comments. So I think we're going to make it a regular thing.
Good.
And the only thing is, though, I will say, if we do make it a regular thing, you guys are going to have to come on and actually, talk to us. So
I think they'll come on loads. I think they'll come on loads.
So-
I really do. I think it's a brilliant thing. But
Yeah, I think from a viewer's point of view, because that's what I was last week, I did really enjoy it.
yeah.
I did. So, yeah, let's do that again.
Okay, well, we'll probably do it monthly, hopefully. And then what I was thinking is that we'll set up some sort of hashtag. I was thinking like maybe APCA, like Ask the Pubcast Anything, and we'll stick that on Twitter. And while we're recording the podcast, if you've got anything you want to ask us via Twitter, we can have that, and then that'll fill in for the times if no one's about. But yeah, so I thought that went really well. And on top of that, the competition got some great entries, haven't we?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Got to say, that closes tonight. So by the time this has gone out, it's too late if you want to enter.
Too late.
But we'll be looking at our favourites next week and picking a winner. But it's going to be really difficult because I've got to say, I sort of, when they first started coming in, I was like, oh, I love that one. And then another one would come in and go, oh God, I really like that one as well. Now I've got about 8. There's about 8 that I really, really like. So it's I think it's going to be really difficult to pick.
Yeah, some really good images on there. It's going to be definitely
Yeah.
hard to choose. Yeah.
In fact, I don't think there's not one bad image. Not one bad image. Really good.
And when
they're
does
all
when does
brilliant.
it close?
Well, it closes
Tonight.
midnight tonight.
Right.
So the Friday that we're recording now,
Yeah.
it
Right,
closes.
so
at
by the time
midnight.
this goes out, it'll be closed.
It'll be too late. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be too late, and then we'll look through them next week and pick our favourite ones each, and then we'll try and pick a winner next week. And we were going to talk. Well, we want to talk about landscape photography of the year, but we're really politely waiting for James to be here. So because he really wants to talk about it with us. So we'll wait till he's here, and then you can.
By the time he comes back on, we'll be doing El Potty 2022.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's promised to be here next week. So let's hope so. So, should we crack on with a topic? Is it how do we fancy talking about the environment?
COP26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to, I mean, Darren, it was kind of your baby, this one. So do you want to talk about
Well, it's not say necessarily my baby. It was just that it'd be quite nice, I suppose, on the pubcast to do something that's quite current, because when it goes out, it's fresh in a lot of people's minds, and they kind of might want to chip in with the conversation. I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Really. I mean, we all do our bit. I like to think we do. I mean, I do. Hand of the Baskervilles. Whose is that?
That's. I've got to say that's my dogs.
Yeah, I like to think that we all kind of do our bit, but is it enough? I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I think it's very difficult for us, the general public, to make like huge changes. I think it has to come from governments around the world. And are they doing enough?
No.
Yeah,
They're not.
It's,
I'm not being funny, but I mean, I agree with you. It's very good for politicians to tell us what we need to do. What was that?
That's
Under the
Dave.
Baskervilles.
that was
That's
Dave's
David
chipping.
Haley.
Yeah, Dave's chipping in.
And the vape will come out of his backside. Yeah, it's very good for the politicians to tell us what to do. Yeah, but they all flew into Glasgow or wherever it was on the private jets. hundreds of them, yeah. And then we've got people like Gates telling us what to do, and various other people telling us what to do, all flying around on the private jets, yeah. And the problem is that you've got places like China, you've got places like India that are creating 75% of the pollution, and they're telling us, sat in England, that we've got to drive electric cars, and we've got to have heating systems that go underground to offset carbon emissions. Yeah, but nobody's thought it through. I mean, the thing is in theory, it's absolutely brilliant, and as much as we can do to be eco-friendly, yeah, I agree. If you can, but if you live in a terraced house, right, in 13 or 14 years' time, how are you going to power your electric car? How are you going to actually connect it to the grid? Yeah, because most people can't park near the houses anyway. Or if you live in an apartment complex, what are you going to do? And if you have a house that's a terrace house again, where are you going to put all these underground pipes to make sure that you can heat your house? And most of the eco-friendly stuff anyway doesn't really work, you know. And the problem is the politicians haven't got the kahunas to actually tell us what we really need to do, which is nuclear power, because everybody's so scared of nuclear power. And, you know, if we invest in the infrastructure with nuclear energy, then we've got a chance of going green. But, you know, they are very good at telling us what we need to do, and they're very hypocritical because, personally, they don't actually follow their own mantra.
I think the nuclear power thing is really interesting. I'm going to come back to that. Right, but the first thing I wanted to say is I think what sums up this COP26 summit for me is don't judge. Right, I was watching Lorraine this morning. Right, listen, it wasn't.
Is that before loose swimming or after loose swimming, Gal?
It's before.
What do you watch first?
It's in between Good Morning Britain and this morning, but it just happened to be on when I got in. Anyway, they got a guy, I don't know what his name is, Kevin something, and he's the fashion expert, you know. Right, so he was in Glasgow, right, out opposite where they're holding the summit, and they were talking about, I can't remember, like fashion, environmentally conscious fashion, right? So look at lovely so and so, she's wearing an environmental carbon zero thing. But he was saying, it's brilliant up here. I've had such a good time. He said yesterday last night we were in the restaurant sitting next to, I think it was. I can't remember who they're saying now, like some superstar and somebody else, another superstar. And I'm like, this is supposed to be a summit about changing the world's environment, and people are treating it like a jolly. Basically, they're just turning up and, you know, Keira Knightley's here. You know, she's, what have you got to do with it? What have you got to do with saving the planet? You just come along for a photo opportunity. But for me, going back to nuclear is the way to go, I think. But people are scared of the word. They're scared of the word nuclear. It's like, you know, an MRI scanner. Magnetic resonance imaging scanner used to be called a nuclear magnetic resonance scanner, an NMR scanner. Because it had the word nuclear in it, no one would go in it because they're all too scared. Because they thought it meant they were going to get radiated or you know, set off a bomb. So it's almost like I can imagine it now. The government is sitting there thinking, well, we don't want to go push nuclear because we'll lose loads of votes because people associate nuclear with the arms race.
I think that's the problem, though.
You know?
And I'm not talking Tory. I'm not talking Labour. I'm not talking the Pink Party from the planet Mars. The trouble is that politics and saving the environment just don't mix, because you cannot be political if you want to save the environment. And that's the problem. But the problem is that we're not going to save the environment. We're just not. If we're in that dire straits, it's not going to be England that's going to save the environment. It's China who's bringing on power stations at 3 a month. Yeah, you know, to create the infrastructure that they're creating. It's Russia who doesn't give a damn. It's America, you know.
Yeah, because even America said that they didn't kind of get on board with the doing away with coal, did they?
No,
they didn't agree
I've
to
got
that,
nothing against the American people at all. I think they're absolutely awesome. I lived there for 3 years. They're great people, but you know, America have never been environmentally conscious. They drive huge cars. And their petrol prices up until a few years ago were a lot lower than anybody else. And, you know, that's the way America works. Until everybody comes on board, I don't know what Boris Johnson, and again, not talking political, I don't think any of the parties that we belong to in this country would be any different. But, you know, suddenly saying to a little tiny country like ours with 70 million people, well, we've got to do X, Y and Z. No, it's a drop in the ocean, to be honest. If everybody comes on board, grand, we've got a chance. But if England does it, all they're going to do is create major hardship on a very small island, which is already struggling because we've made a major transition in the last 4 years. So,
what do you think, Dave?
I actually have very little opinion on any of it. I don't really stay very current with what's going on in the world because most of it is total bollocks.
No, I agree with you.
I think that
the same way.
You know, it's a very important matter that's being dealt with in a very trivial way, and we will almost certainly end up in a relatively difficult conflict with the likes of China and Russia, because at some point in the next 20 to 50 years, they will be forced to pay attention to what's going on because the lip service that's being paid to it at the moment simply won't be enough. And I think that, you know, what will happen is there will be some terrible effects, some real consequences that will drag those states kicking and screaming to the negotiating table.
I was going to make a point on this, and it's nothing to do with the world is these ending type doom master scenario, but bringing it down to consumer level and bringing it down to the effect on what we're going to see is the cost of all of this isn't going to be accepted, I think, by the consumer, because you know you look at the brands and you look at the big nasty brands out there that are being called out, the Coca-Colas and people like this that are affecting the planet with plastic bottles and the rest of it. You know, I work in an industry that is involved in sourcing products such as that, and I know the cost of these things. And people buy Coke in a plastic bottle because they pay the price they want to pay for Coke in a plastic bottle. If they're going to be asked to buy Coke in a glass bottle or anything like that, the price is going to go up. The price is going to go up for everything that isn't being sourced as cost effectively as it could be through either the Far East or low cost countries or wherever you can get a product sourced at the lowest cost. That isn't the most environmentally friendly way to buy it potentially, but it's the price that the consumer wants to pay. So whatever we do here and the changes that we need to make are going to affect our pocket, and it's whether people are going to accept that and whether they want to say, yep, I'm happy to pay more because I'm saving the planet or I'm saving the oceans or whatever I'm doing, and that clearly the right thing to do from an ethical perspective. But when it comes down to it, are we all going to be prepared to pay more to live for the cost of goods that we need to buy to save the planet? And that's a question, because I don't know whether the people, you know, the average person would say, oh, sod it, you know, I can't afford that. I'll buy a product that's been packaged by somebody in China and it's got loads of shrink wrap around it and it's going to affect the planet, but I can't afford to pay anymore.
I suppose it kind of depends on your financial state or how passionate you are, but I'd be prepared to pay a little bit more. I mean, very rarely do I actually buy a plastic bottle of Coke. You know, I always get cans. I actually prefer drinking out of them anyway. But yeah, I don't buy bottled water anymore. I always used to buy bottled water. You know, the small kind of like 500 mils. You know, now I've bought a couple of Nalgene bottles, and my kind of plastic consumption is far less. And I think plastic, you know, when you go back to the oceans as well, that's the thing that I think we really need to tackle as
and priority. I think it will be tackled. The brands will have no option but to tackle it and reduce it. But the point I'm making is the product will go up because of it, and it will be forced through to consumers and have to accept that increase for what it is. And people like you will say, yeah, I'm happy to do that because it's the right thing to do. But when it's costing people more to live and buy their annual their weekly shopping list goes up by X amount because the packaging that takes to create it to be environmentally friendly is 25% more, are they going to say, actually, this is costing me a lot? You know, I can't afford to live now. You know, just that's the reality of what we're moving into.
Yeah, but in 20 to 30 years' time, they're not going to be living. That's the problem. But the problem is that in the best will in the world is that everybody in England can stop using plastic bottles, and I think environmentally that's a big thing, by the way, Darren, because obviously we're ruining the oceans, separate from climate change. And you're seeing turtles with rings around the necks.
Yeah.
That's dreadfully sad, and also like birds and stuff like that. That's a separate thing that's ecological as well. But from an environmental point of view, we are sleepwalking. The comments that are made about whether or not we want to pay 5p more for a Coke if it's in a glass bottle. Whatever we do in the UK is going to make not a jot of difference. Not a jot of difference. The people who are in control, who are in the driving seat as regards this, are the politicians and the leaders of the world, and they're not interested.
So moving on, that was a bit heavy, that conversation. Let's do something a little bit lighter. Let's talk about some photography on the Photography Pubcast, shall we? So what we decided to do, we were chatting about it in the week, weren't we? And we were saying that it might not be a bad idea for all of us to share our favourite image that we've taken since the end of season 1. So sort of since the end of May. And so we've all got one ready, haven't we?
Well, I haven't, because I wasn't involved at the end of season 1.
No. You don't even go there. Don't even go there. But we're all good. So let's start with let's start with Dave. What you got, Dave?
Oh.
What one photo have you got, Dave?
Oh, hang on a second.
Oh,
Dave, the photo that you're going to show us, are we going to congratulate you on that photo?
No, you're going to say it's a load of pants.
Right, then we need to congratulate Dave for his entry into the landscape photography book.
I really love that picture.
The black and white church in the sea. Well done, David.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you, boys.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I mean,
take
it
the
was
credit, of course.
No, it was a group effort, though. Let's be fair. I mean, I don't think they'd have liked it if on page whatever in the book it said the Photography Pubcast.
No, it was all yours, mate.
It was a beautiful picture,
It was all
mate.
yours.
I love the angles, the triangles
Well
coming
crafted.
into. It was wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
anyway, enough blowing smoke at your arse. Where's your picture?
I normally blow it out my ass. Now, I'm not big on selfies, but this was taken. This is 4 generations of the family, and so it means a lot to me. And I quite sneakily, the camera is a tidy camera, tidy lens on a tripod, and I've got a remote in my hand. So it's not just set the timer going and run into the shot. So I did think about it, but a proper image. The one that actually I really quite like is this one, which I only took last weekend. The reason I'm not using the Church in the Sea because I took that last year.
Yeah.
But this, strangely enough, was the first time all summer that I spent, I don't know, hour and a half on one image.
It's very nice, mate.
And
Beautiful that, yeah.
It's really
yeah,
nice.
I crafted this image. It was an extremely difficult exposure because shooting straight into the sun, and it's about 9 frames stitched together over a period of about an hour. So yeah, that's my favourite from.
But Dave, can I ask you a question? Weren't you supposed to be somewhere else when you took that shot?
Yeah, I'd heard some Muppets were going to be hanging about in the rain at Home Fen, and I thought, well, more fool them.
Yeah,
Plus
it did rain.
the fact they weren't paying me enough to drive across the country.
So that's 9 frames stitched together over how long?
About an hour or so.
How do you do that?
Well, I mean, bits of the waves, bits of the swirl, bits of the foam.
How do you get them to meld into each other?
Oh
without
well,
looking strange?
the obviously the camera's on the tripod. It's framed up and then it doesn't move.
Right.
So I took a series of images. The sky was from quite late on in the sequence because initially the sun was a fair bit higher. I picked the sky for this particular one because of the position of the clouds.
Yeah.
The big black cloud to the left isn't hidden by the rock on the left, and the one to the right disappears into the corner quite nicely.
It's beautiful. What I think is amazing is what software did you use to stitch it together, David?
It's the basic processing. I use Photolab 5 these days, DxO. I don't use Lightroom anymore.
I just love the fact that the light is natural all the way through the frame, isn't it?
I was quite careful about that because it's very easy to cock it up when you do a time blend.
Yeah.
You do see shots where the position of the sun doesn't tally up with the position of the light in the foreground sometimes.
Yeah.
So I had to be quite careful about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked at this image. It's a single image. I went out, took the camera, took this shot, came home, didn't look at any other possibilities, didn't video. This was just me having some fun with the camera. And to be honest with you, it kind of goes to show that when you're not mucking about saying hello and thank you for joining me, I don't know. There's a possibility there won't be any more videos on my channel anytime soon.
I just love it. I think it's a stunning
Thank you.
image.
Yeah, lovely, mate.
It's one of those that I'd love on my wall because you can spend hours just looking at it in different parts.
Yeah, I wouldn't want you to see it in too much detail because there's a few splashes on the lens that I didn't deal with very well. But it was a howling gale. I mean, it was after those storms we'd had, so it was the conditions were quite challenging, even though it looks quite benign.
It's gorgeous, Dave. Really good. Really, really good shot.
Cheers.
Landscape photography of the year next year, I reckon, that one.
I think so.
I mean, it's just like progressions like that now, isn't it?
We're not allowed to mention it, but that shot that you have got into the book, I love black and white anyway. It's my thing. But it was stunning. It was absolutely gorgeous, and I think the fact that you edited it from the colour to the black and white was a really good call. But I'd have chosen that as a runner-up or even not the winner because I just thought it was lovely.
Cheers.
I have to say, we're not going into this conversation until next week, but your black and white was better than the one that won and better than the one that came second. And I don't mean any disrespect to them, but it simply was. So,
but, we're biased, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Biased because we're like David.
Could argue the landscape photography year biased as well. But anyway, Darren, let's see yours, mate.
Right, let's share screen. Right, well, it was a toss-up actually. What to show you? There was I was in the lakes for 2 weeks back in August, and for about a week, a good 7 days out of the 2 weeks I was there, I just had these amazing conditions up at Home Fell, and I was spoilt for choice. I probably took all of my best images this year purely in that kind of like 5 to 7 day window. And there was another photo that I almost shared with you tonight, but I realised I've processed it to suit print. So when you look at it on the screen, it comes across very saturated, but when I print it, the colours are a lot more muted. And to be honest with you, I didn't have time to kind of reprocess it to show you guys. But this pano here, this is kind of processed for screen. And this, for me, actually went kind of crazy on Twitter. But I have to be totally honest. I've got to hold my hands up here. Yes, I shot the pano, but I was actually facing 90 degrees, the opposite direction, on a composition. And the composition was working, but I was actually waiting for something to happen. And I thought, right, well, there's a little bit of light kind of coming over onto the heather. So I thought, right, I'll just spin the camera around. And I took about an 8-shot pano, which I think I've used probably, 5 or maybe 6 shots for this. And it really wasn't until I got home and then looked at it and I just thought, wow, I kind of really like this image, but I didn't actually set out to take this image. I was actually photographing something completely different. And when I dropped this on Twitter, I knew it was a nice image, but it kind of really did kind of take off. And this is my most liked image, I think, on Twitter ever. And this was about 800 likes and loads of shares. And it took me a little bit by surprise. Even Verity Milligan followed me on Twitter because of this photo. So I'm actually looking forward to getting this printed now. And I am going to frame this. And I'm actually thinking about taking down that big mirror that you guys can probably see behind me, and actually putting this pano up above the fireplace there.
You'd be
And that's
better off
it.
looking
That's
at
my
this
image.
than looking at yourself.
That's true. Better look at anything than myself
Darren,
recently.
What lens did you use?
That's a good point. I think I had my 24 to 105. Yes, it was. It was my 24 to 105.
Can you remember what you shot it at? 24 mil wise.
Can't. No, I could look.
Because it's so sharp. It's so sharp front to back. It's amazing. It's a beautiful image. It's
well, to
absolutely
be honest
stunning.
with you, I got to thank Gary for this, really, because not for the image, Gal. You have to, but you know, when I was shooting Canon, I was always kind of shooting around like f11, and Gary, when I went out with Gary one day, shortly after we both got our Sonys, he said, I can't get it sharp from front to back on f11 anymore. I need to, stop down and go kind of f14, f16.
That's right.
And since Gary said that, I've now started to shoot around about 14, 16, and it does make a huge difference on the Sonys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes
really
a huge
does.
difference in general. Is that everybody talks about diffraction, but you're not going to see diffraction unless you pixel peep, unless you go really close in. But I mean that image, it's stunning. The colours are stunning, the light's stunning, and everything. I love it.
Yeah, I might. Now I know that it kind of went down so well, and I did, and I'm looking at it now. There's perhaps a few little tweaks that I will make on it before I actually print it. But at the time, I thought it was nice, and it was just something that I put out there without kind of. What really caught my eye, I really wanted the Langdales in this photo. So that's why I kind of swept around a little bit more to the left, because that place holds a very special place in my heart, the Langdale. So I just thought, this has got kind of everything here, a little bit of light, a little bit of mist. It's got the Langdales in the background. So that's definitely going to go up on the wall, that one.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great shot. It's a great shot. I think what makes it even better is the fact that, what makes it better for us is the fact that, you were just saying, I was actually focusing on another shot, and I just swung round at 90 degrees and took this one, just, That makes me feel a whole lot better as a photographer, the fact that even when you're, not even concentrating, you can still take shots like that. So
I think what it was, in all fairness, it was one of those mornings, and like Dave was saying, I didn't vlog any of this, and I think I touched on this on like the first Pubcast of season 2 about I've reduced my kind of vlogging time, but these conditions that I had up there, you was almost spoilt for choice. You really was. So I think if I'd have only had this mist rolling across the valley, if that was all I had when I was there at the time, obviously this is what I'd have focused on. But it was everywhere. The sun kind of coming up and burning through some of the mist, so I was focused on that, the silhouettes of the trees. It was I was just pleased that wherever I kind of turned the camera that particular day, I managed to pull off a shot. But that was more down to the conditions than the skill of the photographer. Let's just say that.
I don't think so. You've captured it stunningly.
Right, that's me.
Go on then, Paul. What you got?
Lovely.
Yeah, well, I don't really want to put mine up after those two. That was taken outside our lodge on my holiday at Kynance Cove in Cornwall. Yeah,
Really?
This is on your vlog, Paul, wasn't it?
it was because I went to Lizard, which is about 4 miles away, and had really high hopes because we had the sea fret, which was fog at the time. It was dark. The only thing I could see at Lizard was the lighthouse, which was really quite eerie, to be honest, flashing, and the foghorn. And I sat there for 3 hours and got absolutely nothing, but enjoyed the experience of being at Lizard at 5 o'clock in the morning with the tourists coming and watching the sunrise that never happened. And then I drove back home not home, but back to the lodge, and I looked out. And you know when you go and take a picture and you think to yourself, if I only was at a different location, it might be a little bit better. I thought to myself, Kynance Cove might be quite nice, but I've shot it loads anyway. And when I got back to the lodge, I looked over, and that was the view from literally the veranda on the lodge. So I went forward about 100 yards, put the 70 to 200 lens on, shot that out at about f9. I took a couple of shots. The shot was slightly wider. When I take an image, I'll often leave a little bit of landscape around the image so I can crop in, which you have that option with the Z7 because you've got the megapixel count. But it wasn't like a composed shot. It was a shot because of the conditions. So it was like I think it took about 7 or 8 images with the 70 to 200 lens, and that is a cropped in image from the original, but not by much. It's to take out because there was bushes at the bottom because of where the lodge is. I just loved it purely because it was an archetypal image that if you don't get a shot, don't go home and be disappointed, because around the corner might be something that will get you from a candy point of view. I love it.
Yeah, I love the colour. I love the coolness of it.
Yeah,
I really do. Yeah,
I've cooled it down a little bit in post. It's got a little bit of split toning on it, but it wasn't that much because we're talking. It was back in summer. This was about 7 o'clock in the morning. So
right.
and because the sun was had not done anything, the sun wasn't doing anything at all. So it has been desaturated and a little bit split toning to make it a little bit cooler. But and as I said with David, is I love black and white, and so if I don't shoot black and white, I'll often shoot a desaturated image with a bit of split toning.
Sometimes you get those scenes though, don't you, like that, where you don't need to do a lot in terms of desaturation because it is very mono anyway, because that's the effect the sun and the mist is giving, isn't it?
Yeah.
But even though there's not a lot of light, that sea fret is glowing, isn't it? Where you've in between those layers there, it's a real nice sort of glow to that sea fret. It's really bringing it alive.
I think it's what you were saying, Jamie, about yours. Sorry, Darren was even. Is that that with the shot is it's not me. That's just taking a picture. You know, I can't claim anything from that other than the edit. That's human. That's the nature of.
I don't buy that at all.
Do you not?
No. I say this a lot on my videos. We work at our craft and we practice and practice and practice so that when you get amazing conditions, it's second nature to make a good job of it. And I think that you do yourself a disservice by playing down your skill, because it's not just about, oh, you spotted it, but you knew how to interpret it, you knew what focal length to make the best of it, and subsequently you knew that split toning it in post-processing would give you the most impact. And all of that come together knocks the socks off somebody stood there with an iPhone who's presented with the same conditions and just points their camera at it, goes click, and uploads it to Instagram straight away. So that's my. I think you've done a really good job of it.
I think you're actually you're spot on there, Dave. I think we all do that. I think because we've been doing it for so long, and it becomes second nature. When we kind of get a shot that we'd perhaps not worked hard for, we automatically think that we was quite lucky to get it. But yeah, I suppose, you know, when you look at it like that, no, we kind of know what we're looking at, and it just happened to kind of present itself, and you take it, but then you think to yourself, oh, you know, perhaps, you know, it was a nothing shot. But yeah, I'll take that on board, Dave. I'll take that on board.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, it's a fair point, well made, Dave. But it's just that, you know, we put ourselves out there, don't we? We put ourselves out there, and the reason is that this might not be the best shot since May, but it's one of my favourite shots because it was one of those where I really made an effort to get a shot. The shot didn't come off, and then the irony was I came back home and this was sat in front of me. So that's maybe why I'm belittling it, but it means a lot as well, because we've been coming to this location for 7 years with the kids, and this is memories to me. And I've seen this place now if we've been going for 17 years, I've seen this view for 14 weeks on the whole, and I've never seen sea fret like this with this location, so it just made it. So thank you very much for your positive feedback. It's much appreciated.
Well done,
and humbling as well. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
good work, man.
Really good. Jamie, again, what have you got, mate?
I think you probably know what I've got, if I can find it. So, won't be a surprise to see an image from my favourite place.
That's my type of shot.
And of course you might recognise this because this is in my current vlog that's still live at the moment, while I was at Home Fen on the morning that Gary was supposed to be with me, but of course he decided to have a lay in and missed these absolutely stunning and relatively unique conditions, to be fair. So yeah, obviously this was taken at Home Fen, and it was taken about 4 weeks ago now, something like that, and it was that morning where the fog just didn't go, and you don't often get that. You normally get the fog and the mist first thing in the morning, and then it dissipates, and you think, oh well, I've done my best in the short period of time that I got. But this one was at the back end of the morning when I'd been there for about 2.5, 3 hours already, and I'd got plenty of shots that I was quite happy with already, and I was walking back. And the thing with this shot, it's actually really accessible. In fact, we went, was it last week, Gary, and I showed you where this was.
We did, yeah.
It's literally on the crossroads, so you could call it the motel maybe, but it's on the crossroads in the main area of the fence, so it's really easy to get to.
Well, you managed to find your way back to it.
I did. It's so easy because it's on the main path, Dave. I couldn't get lost. Dropping red breadcrumbs and everything, and I was managed to find my way back. But the thing is, I've never seen these particular trees before, which was the thing that surprised me when I saw this shot, because as you know, I spend a lot of time at this place and I've been around here a lot, and I walked back, and of course the mist and the fog was still there, but it was the shape and the action of these two birches that are sort of bending around in a real graceful formation, and of course the way that they were framing that sort of disappearing point where you've got the mist and fog going through, and then that itself was framed by some of the autumnal ferns and bracken that you've got around the outside, and it just stood out to me. And it was just one of those shots that I thought, wow, this has got to be, I've got to take this, even though I was planning to get home because I needed to get home, but I thought, no, I've got to take this. And again, when you get it back and you look at it on Lightroom and you don't have to do hardly anything to the edit, that's a shot that is one that you're happy with, and I really loved this shot when I took it, and when I presented it, it's got some good feedback, when I presented it, but to me it was more the fact that these particular couple of characters I hadn't seen, and they just came alive in the mist, the light that was sort of hitting the side of them, and I don't know, it just come alive, and because I've got that sort of a bit of affection for the place, this particular shot for me really jumps out as one that I'm really happy with, and whether it got any level of adoration online or not, I wasn't really that bothered. To me, it was one that I really liked. So yeah, no, it's a great shot. And
did you desaturate this at all,
no,
Jay? You didn't.
No, if anything, I've slightly tweaked the vibrance just to bring out the colours of the greens and the orange tones in the ferns. So I've slightly pushed the vibe, but when I say slightly, just very slightly.
But that illustrates my earlier point, though, doesn't it? Like you say, Jamie, you spot it; it's a gimme, but at the same time, you've got to compose it. It's an absolutely beautiful composition. It would have been so easy to have those quite central, and to lose that lovely little bit of lighter touch over on the right-hand side of the image. But I think retaining that where the mist disappears into the background, it's just beautiful.
It
really,
wouldn't have worked.
really
It
nice.
wouldn't have worked that way, would it, Dave? Because
No.
you'd have ended up cutting off that left branch.
But that's my point. A lesser
Absolutely.
photographer wouldn't
Would have done.
made such a good job of it. Another thing that I have to say is that I love the way that Jamie is now starting to name all the trees in this area. So
Yeah.
these are the ballerinas. We've
are.
got Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
Who else have we got? We got Ron and Mabel.
Yeah,
Probably.
we've got the jester, I think, or
There we
I've got
are.
a few names for him. The one who sort of arms out each side. So yeah, no, I love it. I think it's great. They're a little family to me now. These lot.
Do you know what the trees are?
These are birch.
Yeah, I
Silver
thought
birch.
so.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
they were.
Yeah,
terrible.
I did get a little bit confused in the vlog between oaks and beeches, if that's the point you're making.
No, I'm not. No, not at all. No,
he hasn't watched it, has he?
No, I have, but it's not that. It's just I really struggle with trees. I said on one of my videos, I'm not an arborist. Don't know, but what I love about it as well is where you're focusing. You've allowed the mist to become part of those trees, and then your focus is slightly further forward, and what it does is it emphasizes the mood of the shot. I just love it. And I had to get closer to have a look at it, and I wasn't pixel peeping, and the subtleness as well of your edit.
Well, as I said, I've really hardly done anything to this at all in terms of an edit.
Sometimes you don't need to, do you?
Yeah. I was quite lucky with the focal plane because the trees on the right hand side and the ferns were quite close to that tree, so it didn't affect the focal point too much. If they'd have been further towards the camera, then that would have been a bit of an issue to me. But
it never worries me anyway. I mean, everything looks gorgeous, but never worries me when you've got something slightly further forward that could be slightly softer. I'm not saying yours is, it's great, but that don't worry me with a shot like this, because what I think, and this is bringing something else different into what we're talking about, is this shot front to back is absolutely awesome for a big vista, but in an intimate shot like this, what it does is if it is a little bit softer, and then it draws you into the shot. That's what I think. I just love how your brain works and just takes you through an image like this. But that goes back to what David was saying, is that's the skill of the photographer. What your image is doing, Jamie, is it's drawing me through the shot. It's naturally just drawing my eye through the shot. And when anybody looks at an image and they say, I feel like I'm there, then you've nailed it, and that's what you've done with that. I love it.
Thank you.
You could argue, Jamie, that it's a tunnel of light, and that's the best tunnel of light that's been taken for a while that we've seen. And I stand by that. I would say that's the best tree tunnel shot that I've seen in the past couple of months.
For anybody that's obviously watching this now, you know that we're just getting seriously geared up for next week's Pubcast when we talk about the winner of El Potti.
Right. Now I've got you.
I genuinely think that's a better shot. I genuinely do. And I'm no disrespect to the shot that won. That shot, for me, is the best shot I've seen from anybody this year. But that's just personal opinion. That's how I feel about it.
Thanks for that, mate. It does mean a lot. So.
Come on then, G. What you got?
Okay. Nothing compared to you lot, I tell you. Jesus.
Is it a shot from a drone about to crash?
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm in big trouble. Okay.
Ooh.
So, the reason... Can everyone see that, yeah?
Yeah, where's that Wales girl?
That is somewhere in Wales. I can't pronounce it. It begins with 2 Fs, for God's sake. You're in trouble. It's like Frederick. It's basically Alan Coles took me there, and this was part of my 36-hour thing that I did in Wales. But the reason I like it so much is that it's like literally the edit has come out exactly how I envisaged the shot. So while I was there, I took that shot and I thought I want to edit that with sort of pull the blacks up, and you see an awful lot of images sort of like that with that type of editing, and I've always found it really difficult to do. But this one just it just nailed, and it's just I know I got the exposure and everything spot on, because if you look at the sort of middle of the image towards the top where you've got that little bit of light on the rock, that's just exactly how I want. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. So that's my favourite shot.
I've got to be honest with you, Gal. I'm not really a lover of waterfalls.
I've got another shot.
No, hang on. I've not finished. But when you said, and I know like we're all kind of, it's the Mutual Appreciation Society here, but when you said, it's not a particularly good shot, or I'm in trouble here, as soon as that popped up, I did think, wow, I really like that. And I know I've always got my printing head on, but I do think that would look cracking in a frame. I really do. And as I say, for someone who's not a big lover of waterfall photography, I really like that. I really do. So yeah, well done for that, mate.
Thanks.
And if you ever want to get that printed, let me know, and I'm more than happy to print that photo off for you.
Oh, I appreciate that, mate. Thank you.
No.
What I really like about it is that you see so many waterfall images of this ilk where you're looking at the fall itself through a very, very heavy vignette. And so the surrounds are almost solid black. And the way you've picked out the layering in the rock to the left-hand side, just those little hints of light on the moss, it just forms the most perfect frame. And also your exposure time to get the water just right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Love that.
Yeah.
And I really, really like the reflection on the pool at the very bottom, the way it's reflecting the water above it. Lovely.
What was your exposure time for that, Gal? Do you remember?
Not long.
No.
Definitely less than a second.
Yeah.
I would say. I think if you start to go more than a second, it becomes too much. But yeah.
You've got some quite subtle light with this as well, haven't you? Because that's the issue with waterfalls, isn't it? Sometimes where the light's too harsh and strong, and you're getting a lot. The whites just don't look right, but the subtlety of the light with this is more or less spot on, isn't it? I guess what it's missing is that sort of that leaf that you should have placed on that little rock in the foreground there, just to set it off nicely.
I knew there was something.
Did anybody see Nick Page's?
Well.
Did anyone see Nick Page's little kind of, I don't know if it's an Instagram post or what it is, but he was talking, go on to Nick's Instagram stuff, and he's doing a few little videos. Okay. And he was talking about how to, I don't know, almost like 7 tips kind of thing, you know. And he was like picking up all these autumnal leaves and said, make sure you keep these with you, so when you go to a waterfall, you can place one just in the right spot.
No, not my bag. I am a great lover of waterfalls, Gary. I am. That is got to be one of the best waterfall shots I've seen in years. I've just had a good good look at it. Subtlety, the edit, as one of the other guys was saying, is sometimes you end up with harsh light. You've not got that. The exposure time is spot on. The other thing is your composition is that often when you're taking a waterfall shot, is you end up with some form of sky in the background. And you've composed this, so you haven't. So, I honestly, how sharp it is as well. I mean, because so what you can often find is when people edit a shot, which you said you've not done much edited to it, is that they make things too sharp. That's just that is going to look stunning in print. It really is. It's absolutely gorgeous. Seriously, that for me is what I aspire to take a waterfall shot. So I'm gonna pick your ear later so you can tell me where that is, because that's beautiful.
It begins with a double F, apparently.
Yeah. So it was. If I ask him where it is, he's gonna say it begins with FO.
Funnily enough, my house name begins with a double F.
What even does a double F pronounce? Like,
yeah, because a single F in Welsh is pronounced as a V.
Seriously, I love that.
Can I just say, so just going back to what I just said about Nick Page, it was his videos at the moment are all tongue in cheek.
I know.
They're not to be taken.
He takes
so
the
that leaf, he was kind of playing a character about that. I don't want anyone to think that he was being serious.
He's a great lad, Nick. What I love about this is that I've just seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images that have inspired me to go out and shoot, and that's why I love looking at other people's images. They inspire you to go out, and that's what I love about photography. If you get an inspiration from an image, it's a good image.
It's weird though, Paul, because I was similar to that, but I looked at Darren's and thought, like, I looked at Jamie's and thought wet. Because I've been there. So last time I was at Home Fair, I was soaking wet. Last time I was at Home Fair, I was knackered. But no, they were absolutely fantastic. But going back to you saying you're going to pick my brains, you want to speak to Alan Coles. I'll give a shout out to him because
love him. He's a lovely bloke as well.
He sent me there, Well, he actually went there with me, and he knows his stuff. Like South
Yes, I know.
Wales,
He's a good lad.
he really knows his stuff. So, yeah.
But I definitely want to go to Home Fen. So that invite that you had last week, I'm going to take you up on that. Darren, I'm not going back to Home Fell ever again because I'm never going to get an image like that. And Dave, I can't wait to come over to Anglesey with you as well. And then also Gary, I'm coming with you. You can show me where that waterfall is.
I'll tell you what, Dave's locations are for seascapes. I don't think there's many places better than Anglesey.
No, it's
for seascapes because of the rocks. It's because you get the waves on the rocks, and that's what makes seascapes.
Well, I think
I
think the west coast and obviously the south coast. When you talk about the Jurassic Coast as well, there's got some beautiful seascapes down there. Unfortunately, we live on the east coast where there is no rocks. There's just a load of flat sand. But can I just say as well, I think the reason we all chose to show our photos this week is because we didn't want to come after the competition next week, because there is some real crackers in that competition. So we thought we'd get in early, and we'd be the warm-up act
Put
for next
Dross
week.
in before the real stuff happens.
Exactly.
The biggest shame, and this is a real shame, but unfortunately we're really sorry, but I would love to talk about every single one of those photos, but we've actually got quite a few, and some really good photos are not going to get mentioned, which is really sad. Really sad.
They will all be available on the website for people to have a look at, though, when we've had a big punch up next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Careful what I say.
You'll be fine. Am I on, Paul? Thumbs up if I'm on.
You're on.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay.
Not now.
No,
Sorry, because Paul went, "You're on," then it went on to him.
this is like a running thing, isn't it? Every week, except James does it on purpose and everyone else does it by accident. Okay, I tell you what. Let's talk about something else now. Let's move on to. Did you hear that? I've got fireworks cracking off now, so I do apologise.
That's good. I thought someone fell over.
No, it's fireworks.
Sounded like somebody's hip.
I'll just check my missus. I think she's.
I think there's too many Scotch eggs. Personally.
Don't go down the Scotch egg route. Anyway, internet trolls. Right, we're gonna talk about internet trolls, and I guess specifically to do with landscape photography and the comments you get. But I want to balance this discussion out. So we're going to start off by talking about internet trolls, but I think we need to move on to talking about the inability for some of us these days to take criticism, because I think the two go hand in hand. So who wants to start on internet trolls, Paul?
Yeah, I'll start. Okay. I've been very, very lucky with my YouTube channel. I've had 2 or 3 trolls. In fact, 2, yeah. Maybe one of them I would have been classed as a negative comment, which I'd say was a troll, but he did troll me for a couple of 3 weeks, yeah. So I'll ignore him. He mentioned, oh, look at the guy with the brand new van when I got my camper van. I've only had one real internet troll who's followed me from the Photo Nerds. Well, he actually followed me from my YouTube channel, then to the Photo Nerds, then to my Instagram account, and then to my Facebook account. And I thought nothing of it. I just thought, it's a troll. But then I did a video of my mum, and not of my mum, but of the reason that I wasn't on YouTube. I mentioned that my mum passed away, as you all know. And I put a link on my Instagram account, and this person, and I'm not into cancel culture, so I'm not going to mention any names or even other than the fact he may know if he's watching. Nobody will know who I'm talking about because I'm not into that at all. But he then sent a comment and said, oh yeah, mental health issues again. Well,
Bloody hell.
Yeah, exactly. Number one, that's derogatory to people with mental health issues. Number two, yeah, from a mental health point of view, it was very, very difficult, but I haven't got, as I know, my wife might say something different, but I haven't got mental health issues per se because of it, but it was very, very stressful. But I got to the point that I actually sent him a DM back. I said, I've already blocked you from YouTube, I blocked you from Facebook, and I'm now blocking you from Instagram because you're nasty and you're spiteful, because my mum died 2 months ago and it's not a positive comment. Now, as I say, he commented on the Photo Nerds, and lots of people did, but it was the same guy again. And then he commented on this channel, and he deleted it. And I just thought to myself, you know what? That is trolling. That is trolling. He's following me roundabout, and it's worrying as well, because it's stalking as well as trolling. Yeah, and I don't think it's a personal thing, because for the feedback I've got from other people is he does the same to other people. So he comments on other people's negative comments on other people's, whether it's YouTube or whatever. But the thing is that when you put this content out, like you and I do, you guys do and I do, is that we're not doing this for a business. We're doing this for fun, and we spend hours creating videos and creating content to put it out onto YouTube for people to enjoy. And I just think that somebody who trolls you it's the lowest form of the low. I don't mind if somebody puts a comment that's critical down. Somebody mentioned that I sit too low again, and I won't mention him either because he's a really nice lad and he was tongue in cheek. But I had a joke with him on the comments, and then he commented back and I commented back to him. I don't mind that at all, but when somebody is deliberately being nasty and then starts to get personal, I struggle. But luckily I haven't had many. I've had one, and I hope that he doesn't come onto this channel and start being negative.
So I don't, hardly get any kind of negative comments. I get a couple of strange comments where I think I don't know quite how to take that, because text, we've said it before, there's no kind of emotion in text like there is in voice. So, sometimes I look at it and I think, am I taking that the right way? Am I taking that the wrong way? I'm not too sure. And I let it go. But then there's some comments where you know exactly kind of what they're saying. And especially kind of last year when COVID was really kind of in full swing. I had this one particular guy that was, and he wasn't kind of negative to me at all. He was just talking constantly about almost like conspiracy theories around COVID, and I had to say, and I actually replied to his comment and just said exactly what I said earlier. Look, this is a lightweight photography video. This is not about COVID. This is not about conspiracy theories. I'm leaving this comment up for 24 hours and then up so you can see it. And then after that, I will be removing you from the channel, but I wish you all the best. I try not to fall out with anybody, really, because you don't know what people are kind of going through.
You don't, Darren. That's the thing.
At the same time, you can only kind of take so much before you think, I don't really want to see these type of comments on something that I enjoyed doing. If I had a strong opinion on something that was political or racial or something, then fine, I'd expect it. But when I'm talking about a tree, for goodness sake, do you know what I mean?
A picture.
Or I'm talking, yeah exactly, a bit of mist rolling across the fell. What do I want all that for?
I mean, you've hit the nail
I
on
think the thing is, though, that we kind of, we're talking very much about YouTube comments. So, broadly speaking, if we weren't YouTubers and we were just putting our images on Instagram and whatever, by and large, it doesn't sort of stir up the trolls. It always seems to be to do with video work, bizarrely.
Yeah.
But I'm very much in the Gary Norman school of how to respond to comments. In that, if somebody wants to raise an issue and spark a debate, bring it on, because I'll take anyone on any time.
I think sparking a debate is absolutely brilliant. I mean, and I'm well up for that, and I've had that lots of times on my channel, and also in previous podcast thing I did as well, which we won't mention. And we got a lot of animated comments, but none of them were trolling. Some of them told us to F off and various other things, but they weren't trolling.
I think there's a difference. So I think there's a difference between. Don't take this the wrong way, Dave. Right? You're in my camp. I think there's a difference between you three and me and Dave. Right? I'm a troll. I'm almost a troll on YouTube because I will say what I think and I don't care if it offends other people sometimes. And I do it for the right reasons, I feel. But you guys are very much like you don't deserve trolls, and you don't deserve negative comments. But I look at it and think, well, sometimes Dave says things that could wind people up, and I say things that could wind people up. But the difference is that I'm prepared to have the argument afterwards. I'm like, do you know what? If I say something, like I'm going to own it. I'm going to own what I say. So you might not like it, and it might be controversial, and it might be something you don't want to hear. But I own that comment, even if you disagree with it, and I don't mind having an argument about it. And
Gary,
that particular, go on.
Sorry, that your definition of a troll is wrong. What you're talking about is when
fighting talk.
Yeah, when you and Dave, you're contentious, right?
Yeah.
So you might be contentious, but you're not a troll, right?
No.
So you're putting your opinion across.
Yeah.
In a pointed way, but that is not trolling. Trolling is giving negative feedback in a negative way, right?
Yeah, but
so there's a big difference. A troll sits in his mum's basement in his underpants and looks at somebody's comment, somebody's video.
Minute, just get my gear off.
No, but seriously, in all seriousness, looks at somebody's video and thinks, how can I be nasty?
Yeah.
You and Dave aren't like that. You've got opinions. You're very opinionated.
Yeah,
I think the difference is, though, to a large degree, is that we don't start it, but we're happy to finish it.
That's fine.
I was quite happy to make a video telling a certain clientele to piss off. And funnily enough, a lot of people have written in subsequently many times referencing that. Because and one or two people wrote in and said that was a coffee spraying across keyboard moment when I told people to piss off,
Right.
And I think it helps.
Seen that video.
It's not that good, but the thing is, though, I think it helps to be, if you're going to be on YouTube, you've got to be thick-skinned and not give a shit. And if somebody wants to troll you, as you say, you've got two choices. One is engage with them, the other is block them. And I actually haven't blocked a single person, but I've engaged with many.
Right.
I'll tell you what, there is a third option actually, and it was really good. It was when I was out with you, Dave, and we camped on top of the Glidders, and I titled my video "An Amazing Hike" because that's what it was. That was the first 1,000-meter peak that I've ever gone up, and not only did I go up there, I went up there with all my photography gear and all my camping gear. So for me, it was a real achievement, and it wasn't a clickbait title. It was an amazing hike. It was an amazing 24 hours I had with Dave. And someone commented on that video, well, it's not exactly the north face of the Eiger, is it? Now, I clicked on his channel, and he was a photographer and a hiker. And I thought that was a shame to write that kind of comment, because you should be appreciating someone that's never done that before.
Yeah.
And you should be saying, like, well done to them, because no matter what your level of fitness is, if you was to climb, a walk up a fell that was 200 meters, and that's all you can manage, and you're pleased with it, then you should be pleased for that person. Anyway, I'm going a little bit off road, but what I done with that comment was I didn't block the guy. I just pinned it at the top.
Oh, yeah.
And I just let all the other subscribers jump on top of him, and then he deleted the comment. So...
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's a good
I
ploy.
actually won the argument without even replying.
With
I just let
diplomacy,
everybody else pile in.
But that wasn't a troll comment, was it, Darren? It was a not a nice comment. But
No,
he wasn't trolling you, was he?
No, definitely not. I mean, to be honest, the guy that I blocked wasn't really trolling me.
No.
He was just... I think there was 2 or 3 really negative comments, and I just thought, I don't make the videos.
I think when you get
for
into
that,
2 or
so
3
I've got-
as trolling. As I
Right,
say,
okay.
I mean, it's a definition of what a troll is. Somebody can be opinionated. Somebody, as I say, going back to my old life in the podcast, we got a lot of negative comments, but they were negative comments because people were passionate about what they were talking about. And I think that's maybe the differentiation. They were passionate about what we were saying and they were disagreeing with us passionately. But, you know, when somebody comes on and is giving you nothing constructive to say but says something nasty, then you can maybe think, well, that's one negative comment. But when they do it over and over again on different platforms, that's trolling. You know, opinions I can live with all day long. I'll disagree with you till the cows come home. You know, but you know, it's like, you know, we're doing this as a pubcast. If you disagree with me in the pub, I'll say, you know, expletive, off, and then we'll go and buy each other a drink. But if consistently you're being nasty, I'm going to think to myself, well, I won't come to the pub with you anymore.
We haven't got a car park you can take them out into.
Well, I've never had a fight in my life, mate.
As photographers, you know, we also touched upon previously when we were talking about how we accept constructive criticism or whether we invite it by putting our pictures out there. And it's reasonable to morph the conversation into that. Do we invite it? How do we react to it? What are our thoughts on somebody saying, oh, I would have cropped that branch out, or whatever it may be?
Sorry, can I come in, or does anyone else want to?
No, I was going to talk to Jamie, but carry on.
No, go on, Jay. Go on, Jay.
No, not joking.
No, go on first, Dad. Go on.
Well,
Go on, Dad.
There's a couple of things. As I spoke about many times, I used to do a lot of astrophotography. And in the end, you know, I got reasonably good at it. I should do it. It cost me an absolute bloody fortune, so I should have got something out of it. But I remember my early photos, which were absolutely pants. But I remember capturing, I think it was M31, a spiral galaxy for the first time. And looking back on them images, honestly, they are rubbish. But that feeling of excitement that I had, no one could ever take that away from me. And when I used to belong to a Facebook group, you know, when I got fairly advanced into astrophotography and people used to post their early photos, I could never say anything negative about them because I knew how I felt when they first took that, you know, I took that kind of photo. So I was nothing but praise. Personally, I don't like critiquing on anybody's photos unless one, it's positive energy that I'm giving, or secondly, if it's somebody that I know. If it's someone that I know, I feel quite comfortable by saying, you know, have you thought about doing this, or that just kind of caught my eye a little bit. I just want to bring it to your attention because if it brought my eye to it, it might bring so I think if it depends on who you're talking to. I would never go online to a stranger and give my 2 penneth worth unless they ask for it, and even then I'd feel very, very uncomfortable because it goes back to what I was saying earlier. When you're typing, it can come across different to how you are when you're with someone face to face.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Totally.
I mean, there's an idea there really for a piece we might do. We could each share an image that we're not entirely happy with and ask the others how we might improve it. Like, for example, a shot of the church in the sea.
Yeah, I'll put my kind of sand
But
on.
no, seriously, I mean, that is a really, really good example of me sharing an image which was a bit insipid and getting some feedback from people who couldn't offend me if they tried, and then ending up in a nice book. Yeah. So, you know, to anybody out there who perhaps is a little sensitive about accepting gentle suggestions, be open-minded because you never know where it might take you.
I think that's a good description there, isn't it? Gentle suggestions, because it is the way it comes across. And you know, if you're going back to trolls and nasty comments, nobody wants those. But I haven't got an issue whatsoever with somebody coming to me on my vlog or on Instagram or Facebook and you know, suggesting improvements and things like that. I'm not a master at my art. and therefore I'm more than happy for others to suggest ways for me to improve, and I would welcome it. That's not a problem for me at all. But it's all about the way that they come across when they put that criticism to you. If it's presented in a negative way, then clearly you're going to possibly take offence of that, and that could be slightly hurtful if you feel that they're attacking your image because they don't like it and they're pulling it apart. But if they're saying, great image, however, have you thought, as Darren said, maybe that little branch in the corner there is a little bit distracting, and if you removed it, that wouldn't bother me at all. Not at all. And I would welcome stuff like that, really.
But I would feel uncomfortable doing that online where other people could see my comments. I wouldn't have so much of an issue if I DM'd the person, because that way they can either take my advice or ignore it. But I don't know. It's a tricky one. Unless someone actually throws it open, this is my image, guys. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below what you think of my image. Unless someone said that, I just can't bring myself to go online and say, oh, that image, blah, 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 blah. It's a little bit oversaturated, it's a little bit sickly. I can't do it. It's just not me.
But even if the comment that I received I didn't agree with, I would still say, that's fine. You're right. That might work better. But for me and the way I took that shot, I liked my composition and the way I did it. But thanks for the comment. Take it on board. So it's not always saying that, what you're saying I'm going to take on board and change, but thanks for letting me know. But I actually prefer the way I've edited it. So it's my image. But I'm not going to diss them. It's not going to be a hurtful comment, somebody giving me constructive criticism.
No, that's a good point. Also, it's not just about how it's presented, it's from whom it's presented.
Yes.
I've got some contemporary photography heroes, and if one or more of them suggested something to me, I'd sit up and take notice, because I absolutely respect their opinion in every way. And almost I chuck that out there because to some degree there is an element of, we put images out there and people write in and say that's terrific, and you get a lot of online love. But if somebody who you respect said, but you go, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that I can learn from that, I can progress, I can get better. And it's important to us as photographers to not rest on our laurels, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. I totally agree. I've got a lot of respect for people, as you say, on my Twitter feed, and particularly on Twitter, there's a lot of people that follow me and I follow them. And if any one of them actually made a comment, I would sit up and take note, because I respect their work and what they've achieved and what they've experienced themselves. And it's that where I would think I would probably take a second look at what I was doing, rather than just say, no, I'm happy with it myself. But if you get something for somebody that you respect, you think, right, let me look at that. Let me actually see whether that
on the
does
other
work.
side of that coin, somebody who I absolutely respect wrote into me this week and said something nice. It was almost a throwaway comment, but I was so chuffed. It was very unexpected, and there are times when you think, oh, okay, yeah, well, maybe I do know to some extent what I'm doing. It just reinforces that you're not as rubbish as you might think you are.
Gal, what do you think, mate?
My thoughts on it was less about photography critique and more about critique of videos. And we're going back to the comments, and I've noticed that there's been 2 or 3 times where I've put a comment in to somebody and they've asked for a comment. So kind of like when someone does a video and they say comment below with your thoughts on it, and then you comment below and it isn't what they want to hear, and instead of replying to you, they ignore you, or you find out that your comment's not even visible to anyone but you. And this is my issue with, this is what I was talking about when I was saying about people not calling everyone or making out that people are trolls when they're not trolls. They just don't want to hear stuff that they don't want to hear. And it's like, even there's a couple of people, and I didn't even put negative comments. I just asked a question because I was just saying, I'm not sure that you've got that right about what you're saying. I think that it's factually incorrect, and it gets deleted. And to me, that isn't someone going, oh, this guy's a troll. That's someone literally going, I don't want negative comments on my channel because it's going to make me look bad. Or even comments that say anything other than, oh, amazing picture. Oh, you're the best vlogger and photographer in the world. And that's what I don't like.
But this is my point, you see, because this is why you've got to tread a very thin line with constructive criticism or any sort of criticism. Now, because we all know each other, you guys could say anything to me. And if I read your text, I'm almost reading your text in your own voice and your own mannerisms. I know what you're like. If I saw something from you, Gal, I'd just read that and I'd just think, yeah, that's Gary, or yeah, that's Dave, or Paul, or Jay, or James. I know that. But if you read something that's slightly negative, your mind goes a little bit kind of overtime a little bit, and you just think, well, what is that a real dig? And it might not be. And if you spoke to them in person down the pub, you could gauge their reaction by their tone of voice and their facial expressions. That's why I just think any sort of negative comments, it can be misstrued totally.
I get that, but we are all of us to a man sitting here, and everyone out there on YouTube, I would say to a person sitting there, you love the positive comments. We all want to hear positive comments. We all take them on board, and someone says, like, if someone says your picture is amazing, everyone loves to hear that. But if someone says your picture is nice, but maybe that's instantly like, and I would go, okay, I'll look at that. And a lot of you guys would go, okay, I'll look at that. But there are people out there who instantly go block, delete that. I don't want to hear that comment, because that makes other people think that my photography or my work isn't amazing. And that's what I'm talking about.
It might not be that though, Gary. It might be that you're hitting on their insecurities. Because if I put a video out and somebody said, yeah, I like the image, but it's desaturated and this, that and the other, I'd go down the Jamie route and just say, yeah, well, that's subjective and that's the way I wanted to take the image. Somebody commented on one of my images a couple of weeks ago and said, you should have taken the picture slightly more to the right-hand side. Now, she was right. I should, but I couldn't because there was a bank on the right-hand side. So I commented, well, there's a bank on the right-hand side, but yes, you're right. But the thing is that with my subscriber base and the people who comment on my videos, I almost know them all. You know, the people who comment are almost like a community with me. So if somebody makes a tongue-in-cheek comment, it's like a mate down the pub. So I don't take it as a negative. So often somebody may make a comment on a video or on somebody else's video, and if they know you, they'll take it a different way than if Gary Norman went on Jimmy Nuck's channel and said something negative and he didn't know you from Adam. Because it's just going to what Darren was saying. If you were in the pub and you struck up a conversation with him and you said, I don't really like the look of your tattoo, mate, he'd most probably laugh and buy you a drink. But if you do it online, it's anonymous, and they'll take it as a positive negative. So you just got to be careful.
But if Gary Norman went on the same person's channel and went, your picture's amazing, I absolutely love it, they'd lap it up and go, oh, thanks.
Well, they might do because that's human ego. So the thing is that we're all insecure, aren't we? You know,
I mean, if I didn't know James Burns, I would have blocked him years ago.
I think you should anyway, just to be on the safe side.
Me and James, first of all, I love James to bits, right? His photography is absolutely incredible, and he's such a funny sod. He
really gets lucky, doesn't he?
To be fair, it's all right. It's not amazing.
On Twitter, if I didn't know James, I would look at that account and I would just think, me, you have got to go, and I would I would get rid of him tomorrow.
I think you should anyway, just to be on the safe side.
You know what? I actually don't know James that well.
I ain't missing much.
No, other than the fact he got me to wind somebody else up the other year on Twitter. But,
he's good at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm having to go down now because my mic's going down. But I've looked at his comments when we were doing talking to each other on Facebook, and he's got a really dry sense of humour. And once you twig him, because he's very much like me, once you twig him, he's a great guy. But if you don't know him, you could take him the wrong way.
But just back to my point, I honestly, I know you guys don't think the same as me, but I honestly think if you can't take genuine criticism, then you should just switch your comments off. Because if all you want is an echo chamber saying how amazing you are, you're in the wrong job, mate.
What do you class as genuine? Well, we're not in a job, are we?
No, but
are you earning any money?
No, but I'm saying you're doing. I just think you're doing the wrong thing if you can't take genuine criticism.
No, but what do you class as genuine criticism though? If I put a video out, right, and I've spent 2 days taking pictures, right, and then I've spent another 2 days editing it. But I'm not going to earn any money off it. But I'm putting it out for the community. Yeah. So what would you? What would you? And then what would you put as a comment that you would think would be genuine that would upset me?
Okay, I wouldn't comment on that. Right.
Of course you wouldn't.
What I'm talking about is if someone says, comment below about whatever. Comment below if you've got any questions.
Right, got you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And
got you now.
You often get you'll get someone like. I'm not talking specific people. I'm not going down that route. But there's someone who was releasing videos and literally talking total rubbish, right? Total rubbish about technique, about technical aspects of photography, and misleading people. And they said, comment below if you've got any questions. So I did.
Then comment.
I did. I commented below, and I only said, you've got these mixed up. Can you explain a bit further? Or can you tell me why you think that if you want to increase your shutter speed, you should turn your ISO up instead of increasing your shutter speed? And I got blocked. Oh, I didn't get blocked, actually. I just had all of my comments deleted. Everything got deleted. And I'm like, well, and then there's a whole raft of comments going, oh, amazing, great, really love this. It was really useful and really helpful. They're all on there.
How many comments?
Well, 10.
10. Well.
But enough comments saying this was really helpful, this was really useful. And, oh yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you watching.
Yeah, but you genuinely wanted to know how a polarizing filter makes your images sharper, didn't you?
You did.
Yeah,
that was one.
Yeah, but the point is that it was factually incorrect.
Gary,
and then they asked for comments, asked for questions. And I ask a question, and I get my comment deleted because it wasn't the question they wanted to hear.
You just saw because you followed his advice and your image didn't come out right.
I am. I'm very disappointed because.
So, did you think that guy was wrong then to get arsey because you commented on his video?
Yeah.
He didn't get arsey, did he?
So, have you ever got arsey when someone's commented on your video?
Depends what they say. I don't mind. I don't mind him getting arsey. If he actually bothers to respond.
If someone's ever said something like, I don't know, I think you've blown your highlights, have you ever gone a bit touchy then?
That wasn't on a video, that was on Facebook.
Did you get a little bit prickly?
I did, yeah. I did. But the point is I didn't delete his comment.
You made a whole bloody video about him, slagging him off.
That's right.
Don't we all get prickly? If somebody mentions one of your images and mentions something critical, I do. You mentioned about you've gone on and gone on about criticism. If somebody mentions and criticises one of my images, I don't like it. I'll be honest. I don't. I know it's all subjective, but I do get annoyed, or not annoyed, but upset if people criticize.
Yeah, of course, but that's different because that's someone's opinion of a subjective opinion that you don't agree with, and I get that. But I just want to go back to this comment about right? Okay, I apologised. I actually said I was in the wrong. I did. I actually said, do you know what? On reflection, I did blow my highlights and I was in the wrong. Right? Okay.
Did you say it in the right way though, Gary?
I think I did. But I think the point is...
there's no excuse for that, though, is there?
No, there is no excuse. But I think that...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, you don't even want to go down this road. This guy was really rude to everyone, actually. And I took a photo, and he went, "It's all right, but you've blown your highlights, and it's ruined the shot." And I got really offended by it, and then probably about 6 months later went, "Yeah, I blew my highlights on that shot." So I did blow my top, and I did get angry, and I had an argument with him, and then I realised I was wrong, and I apologised later on, not to him personally, actually, I would say. But what I'm saying is that what would have been worse, what I don't like, is the fact that imagine he'd have said, "You've blown your highlights," and I just went, no, delete, and deleted that comment. And all the others were saying, "Great shot, lovely shot, amazing shot, brilliant shot." But his one that was negative, I just deleted it. I just went, "No, I'm not even going to answer that. I'm just going to delete it." How arrogant of me would that be? And how rude would that be that guy's making a comment to me that he probably feels is legitimate, and I have not given him the time of day to even answer it. I've just deleted it. That's
was
worse.
Was it on your channel?
No, this was on Facebook. But if it had been on my channel...
It's not arrogant. If you want to delete him, you delete him, don't you?
But I think it is arrogant on my behalf, because if he feels he's got a valid point, I'm literally going, "Yeah, you might have a valid point, but I don't want to hear that, because I'd much rather have just positive stuff on my channel." And
I think to be
wrong.
fair, though, in this particular instance, far be it from us to discuss specific instances, but since you brought it up, the way he put it, the exact phrase he used was, "There's no excuse for blowing your highlights." Now, that isn't very constructive. That isn't, he put it in a way that was, any one of us would have said, "Right then, let's have an argument." So,
Well, I'm a great believer. If you've got nothing nice to say, don't say
it.
Yeah.
I am as well, Darren.
Unless you
Me and
know
you.
the person,
Yeah.
unless you know the person and you know that they can hear your tone of voice through text, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing.
Well, thanks very much for watching this week. We hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back next week to judge the competition and give away the book. We'll also be talking about Landscape Photographer of the Year, and maybe even James might put in an appearance anyway. So, but yeah, from the five of us, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
GN,
Oh,
GN,
see you later.
GN.
GN, everybody.
GN.
See you.